أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي صدق الله العظيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, so we continue with lesson 10 in our series. So today we want to revise the subjunctive mode that we did in the previous lesson and cover the jussive mode, as well as the particles that introduce this particular mode. And if there's time, we'll do the imperative or the command mode as well. Okay, so far we're still busy on the modes section of verbs. Right, so the subjunctive mode of the verb, we said it is used to imply a wish or a purpose. And essentially there are two differences between this mode and the past tense. First of all, we have this alif nuniyata in the front. And this alif here, alif, nun, ya, and ta. Right? So all these are tas here. So the innate is the prefix of this particular mode form. And also we said that there are other differences like the nouns that disappeared here from the normal present tense, even the noun that disappeared and got replaced by an alif. These two remain the same, like the ordinary present tense. Okay, so these were some of the features of the subjunctive mode. So it has prefixes and suffixes. And I showed it to you in this format as well, where you can see the features very clearly, that it has the alif nun yata in the front, okay? And then here at the end, the feature is the fatha in the singulars, as well as in the first person plurals. This one is unique, because it's just got a ya to show feminine singular. All these are the same, you can see here. And here we have the ya, and then these stars coming in on the third person as well as on the second person. And here we said these two are similar and these two are similar in that they only differ between the ya and the ta for masculine and feminine. Okay, then we looked at the main particles, and this is the page or the slide that you should remember. If you see any of these particles, and this first one is a group of them, which means they're exactly the same thing. So you can either use li joined to a word, or li k as a separate word, or even k as a separate word. All of them means in order to do something else, right? So you're doing something in order to do something else. Then li k la, we said, is the negative, right? So this la, alif at the end shows the negative, so in order not to, right? And we said the li doesn't have an equivalent of li la, so you have to use one of these two to express the negative in order not to. Then we said an is another word that stands on its own, that you want to do something, and you use the an plus the subjunctive mode, and the negative of it is the Allah, right? The an plus the la giving you Allah. Then you have lan, which is negative future, never or will not in the future, and hatta is until. Okay, and then we gave you some of these examples that I opened the door in order to leave. Now, what I've done here, just to make it a bit clearer, is I've shown you the root word of this verb here at kharaja, right? Is a past tense. He exited or he left. And yakhruju is the present tense, okay? The normal present tense. And that's indicated by the dhamma. So the difference here is that the subjunctive particle, this k, right, makes this verb take the fatha instead of the dhamma. Can you see the difference here? Akhruja. So this particle makes the verb take the mood of subjunctive, and you have to change the dhamma to a fatha here. Okay, second one, same thing, atamanna an, and then the verb, the root is zara, he visited, and yazuru is the normal present tense of zara. So he visited and he is visiting. So this one is I intend or I want to, then I visit. Right? So you're changing it to alif to make it I, because here you started off with I hope to, then you can't say he or she, you have to say I hope to that I go, that I want to visit Makkah. Okay, so this must agree here as well. So it's the first person here. It's a reference to both of them showing I and I. Right? And you notice the feature here that the verb takes the fatha case ending. Not case, sorry, the mood ending. Adrusu, likeila, this is the negative of it. Arsuba, again you have the fatha coming in to show the subjunctive mode. Uridu Allah, the negative of the an is Allah. And uqabila, we said, is the verb, who is the attached pronoun here. Now here I gave you qabala and yuqabilu. This is the past tense. This one here, past tense, and this is the present. Okay. Now we haven't done verb forms as yet, but because this example has got an example of a form 3 verb, I'll just briefly tell you what it is. Basically, what a form 3 verb is that it's got 3 root letters, which is the qabala, right? Those 3 are the main letters, and the alif, as you see here inside, is an infix that gives you a 4th letter in this particular verb form in the past tense. So it's, although it's a triliteral, like a 3-letter verb, qabala, but when you add a letter either inside or before or after on the main sort of the root verb, then you have a different form of the verb, right? So the alif is representative of a form 3 verb. And the other note change you can see is in the present tense. In all these, you normally had year, right? So these, the form 1 normal ones take a ya with the fatha. Here you notice it's a ya with the dhamma. Okay. And the other thing you'd notice is the second last letter is always a kasra, or bilu. So this format is specifically reserved for the form 3 verb of qabila, okay, of qabla, of the root. So that's why you have uqabi, la, that same feature of the subjunctive coming in, and this making that verb of this format, uqabila, right? Uqabila, so uqabila is the alif of I, and the ya is for he. So this is a version of the third form subjunctive verb, uqabilu. Okay, this one is lan akula. Now here there's a bit of a unique word, akala. Akala is the verb, right? Akala. Now here, ya'kula is the he is eating. This one is a present tense of this form 1 verb. But what happens when you want to make ya'kula into a I'll just write it here on the side, ya'kula, right? Ya'kulu or ya'kula. If you want to, instead of the ya, take the ya out and put an alif in front to make it I, now you have a situation where you're saying a'kula or a'kulu. And normally you don't have 2 alifs like that ever in the spelling and even in the pronunciation. It's hard to pronounce like a qalqala on an alif, like a sukoon, where the first letter before it is also an alif. So what happens when you have 2 alifs like this, with this kind of voweling, it changes to an alif with this little sign there on the top, which is not a fatha, it's an elongated fatha, it's akula. Right? So when you join the 2 alifs here, you get this feature of the alif taking that elongated fatha, which is akula. So that's why this one doesn't have like 4 letters. Like if you look at all the other 3-letter verbs, this one seems to have only 3 letters with the alif built in of the I. So this is just a unique thing about this particular verb. And there are a few verbs like this. We'll look at 1 or 2 more also later in this lesson. Then the last one is hatta tukmila. Now this word tukmila is again from the verb kamila. Right? Kamila, that's a root. And again, here we have a unique thing of the past tense. We have an alif in the front this time. Akmala. Right? This is a form 4 verb. Right? So there we had a form 3 where the alif came inside. Can you see? Here the alif is coming before it. Akmala. You mustn't confuse this alif with the alif of I. You know, here you have, when you put the alif in front, you normally mean I am doing something. This is akmala. If you notice all the vowels of like past tense, you see that in a khataba format, akmala, all the fathas coming in, so it shows you it's a past tense verb. And then when the present tense, you notice it's again a ya with a dhamma, which is very much like the third form. And then a kasra is the second last letter, similar to the third form. And that yukmilu or yukmila is the present tense of the fourth form verb. Right, so here if you look at tukmila, this is a fourth form verb because of these reasons. The ya, here it's a ta because you're until you complete, so you have to change it to you, tukmila. And then this is the indicator of the subjunctive after this particular article hatta. Okay, so I've shown you mainly form 1 verbs, but in between I gave you one form 3 and a form 4 verb just to show you that even in the other forms of the verbs, this rules of subjunctive still apply, that there must be a particle before it, and the last letter of the verb normally takes a fatha in the singular sort of context. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So this is in summary, these are the particles that you must remember is li, k, meaning the same thing. Li, la is the negative of it. An and Allah and lan and hatta. So we'll see this particular block appearing many times over in the next few slides, just because this is one of the features you're looking for. And once you see this word appearing before a verb, then you know that the verb is probably subjunctive mode. Okay. All right, so Quranic examples of the subjunctive mode. If you look at this, وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. Here you have the verb abada. Can you see these 3 letters? Ain, bada, right? This abada, to worship. Right? Then the waw, alif, and the ya in the front, ya'budu. Right? So this ya'budu. Okay, so there's ya to make it they. With the waw, alif at the end. This together gives you the they, and abada is the root. And then the li in front, you can see the particle li here. This is one of the particles that we are looking out for. So liya abudu is for them to worship. Right? That's the meaning of liya abudu in this context here. Then we have another example for liya abudu rabba hadal bayt from Alam Tara Surah. Now this one is also has one little unique feature in that you can see ya abudu coming in again, like in the previous example from here. Right? Ya abudu is the subjunctive verb. Then we have the li that comes in front and the fur that came in front of it. So actually it should have been fur li abudu, but it's a bit difficult to read vowels like that. So what they do for convenience is they join the fur with the lam and they take this kasra out. So you get ful ya abudu, but it's actually fur li abudu. Right? So this is let them worship. Right? So that's how the meaning comes about, and the fur is just like a preposition, like it means let or then let them, right? So then is fur and were is like sabah. Right? So here you have fal ya'budu is another example. All right, and here liyuraw a'malahum, same thing. Here the verb was ra'a, right? Like that, and then yara is the present tense, right? And yaraw would give you the the plural here and the ya in front giving the they. Right? So let they mankind. So it's all to do with like a group of people. So that's why it's liyuro, that they will be shown amalahum, their deeds. But in this example, for yad'u Nadia, then let him call. Again, this fal, the same rule of the fa and the lam taking a kasra comes in this ayah as well. Fal yad'u. Da'a is to call upon somebody. Like you have the word da'wa is an invitation. So da'a is to call out to somebody. And that's why you have fal yad'u. So this verb da'a is yad'u in the present tense. Right? And then when you have what happens is sometimes this wow falls away. That's how you got yad'u. Fal yad'u because of the li. You're making it a singular, because you're talking of one person, let him call out. So you're making it yad'u, just singular, let him call out or ask or invite Nadia, his gang or his company or his club, whatever that group of people are. All right, and in this one, hatta ta'tiyahumul bayyinah, I'll show you this one, but in another example on another slide as well. Okay, now we move on to the jussive mood. Now, this mood is derived from the subjunctive. So it's quite easy to see the similarities. Where in the subjunctive, we had the fatha as the ending here, right? In all of these. Notice what happened to the fatha. Now it became a sukun. Okay, all of them have sukuns here. Okay, can you see that? Here, you notice that noon has fallen away. Here also the noon has fallen away, which is very much like the previous one. And here also the noon was replaced by an alif, we said it, huh? This one and this one. And here the noon stays. Okay, so in terms of the suffixes, this table resembles the previous table completely. The only main difference is in this first, the last letter taking a sukun instead of a fatha. If you compare the two modes, subjunctive takes fatha and the jussive takes a sukun. Okay. Then also it's easy to identify because this one also says it appears after a few particles. And the particles are in, ila, lam, and la. I think these are the most commonly used form of, being an introduction or precursor to the jussive mode. But the unique thing about this one is sometimes it can appear without the particle. So although you're looking for the particle, but there are times when you might find this verb appearing without the particle to give it away to be a jussive mode verb. But nevertheless, you'll get to grips with it when you see examples of this. Okay, so if you look at this particular verb, it's got the alif, nun, ya, ta in front. Can you see that alif, nun, ya, and ta, right? Even this one's got a ta. So alif, nun, ya, ta, the anate still coming in the front. Can you see this ya's and ta's here? Here also ya, and yaktubu, yaktubna, taktubu, and taktubna, right? So the ya's and ta's coming exactly the same as in the previous table. So the main feature we're looking at is the jussive mode. He's got the sukun as the feature that you must look out for. All right, so here the particles are in or idha. In or idha means if, right? And it's used in a conditional sentence. Mean if this happens, this will follow. Right? So this is how you express it. The in will apply to this word in the jussive as well as this if it's in the normal, just in one tense. But if you bring in the future tense, the sa, you notice this becomes the satanjahu, meaning the normal present tense because this is a future tense particle, the sa or so forth, right? So therefore, this in introduces the condition either in one verb or in both the parts of the condition, this and that. Or it can apply to one because sometimes this one has something else that changes it to a normal Dhamma which is the present tense changing to a future tense because of the sir in front of it. Okay, so this particle in is used as one that introduces a jussive. The other one is lam, and you use lam plus yaktub. Can you see he did not write the lesson? This lam introducing the next verb in the jussive mood. And then the la is used as a negative command or an imperative, right? Where you're telling somebody, don't do something, don't write, don't sit, don't sleep, whatever. So you say la, and then you have the ta coming in because you are commanding something, and you can only command to a person that's present. That you can't give a command to somebody in the third person, like he's not here, and you're commanding, him not to write. It doesn't make sense. You normally only give a command directly from you to another person that's in front of you, right? So that's why it only appears to the second person with the ta in front. All right, and then you find that feature of the sukun coming in again for the jussive mood. Okay, examples of the jussive mood form. And these are the particles we need to keep in mind. Right? Now, if you look at this page, the slide at a glance, you notice I've taken so many examples of the lam. Right? There's a lam, lam here, lam here, lam here. All of them got lam. So this is a very common particle that's used to introduce the jussive, right? And these are all from the short surahs, verses ayah that you know. Alam nashrah, right? It's supposed to be like that. Ma lam ya'lam, like that. Sukun yajid ka, right? That's sukun there. Alam, this nashrah, sorry, this one is repeated like this, and this is the same. Alam tara, this was the verb we had earlier where ra'a is the root form, means he saw, right? He saw. When you make it present tense, it becomes yara. Now, the thing that you should remember is these three letters, alif, waw, and ya, when they appear as one of the three main letters of a verb anywhere, they sometimes, because they are weak letters, they change either from the one letter to another, or sometimes they just disappear. Like in this example, ra'a, can you see the ya coming in here? This alif is there, right? So it's kind of got a double weak root, right? Root form, because ra is a strong letter, this first letter, but alif and ya happens to be one of the two of these three letters. So what happens when you change ra'a means he saw to he sees. The ya in front is to show he, and you notice the word sees. All this yara, the other part of the alif and the ya fell away in this example. So you only have yara, just one letter to show that it is the jussive mood, or perhaps in the subjunctive mood, depending on how you use it. Where in those two modes, you notice that the remaining letters fell away. And that's why this it's just written like this, that this is you, have you not seen, right? Seen. The alam is not. Okay, and this alif in front here is the equivalent of a hal. That particle to ask a question, hal or a. Said that particle introduces the question like have or is or are. Okay, any of that, the is the interrogative particle, the particle that introduces the question. So this is actually a question. Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil. Notice in Arabic we don't put a question mark here. Like in English, when you have a question, you always put a question mark at the end of the sentence. Here we don't have question marks, but it's understood from this right in the front. Right, and then it carries on. Alam yaj'al kaydahum fi tadlil. Again, alam yaj'al. Have you not? Did he not make their strategy or their plan fi tadlil go skew or go awry or not work out? Okay, so lam you can see is a very common particle that introduces jussive. I'm going to try and see if we can find an in or a la just now, right? So this is one of the particles of the jussive mode. Now I'm mixing the two up. I'm showing you a bit of subjunctive in jussive. So if you can remember these particles, this is the jussive group. This is the subjunctive group. Right? So if you look at this example here, this lam comes from this group here. So lam must have yalid, right? Because it's jussive, because jussive has got the sukun. Then lam yulad, right? This is yulad, same, this feature here of the jussive, right? So the lam gives you that jussive. Now the word walada is, walad is also a boy, but walada is the verb in the root form walada. And in the present tense, we have yalidu. Right? Now look at again what happens to, you see, wa is one of the three letters, but it's one of those alif, waw, and ya. You see, waw is a weak letter. So while the wa, what happened to it? It fell away in the present tense. So I was explaining this. This is another. This is a form 1 verb, and awlada, yuladu is the form 4 verb. Where we have an alif there. Can you see that alif in the front? And here it's yulad. So from yuladu, you get yulad is the form 4 verb. And this particular one is form 4, and this is form 1. So lam yalid wa lam yulad, that's how you see the example of the Joseph coming in those two forms of walada, the root form. Lam yakun. Yakun is also one of those unique words. Kawana is the root. Kana is the past tense, he was, and yakunu is he will be, or he is to become. And from yakunu, you get again the waw falling away because you have yaku, and then you need to add a noon with a sukun at the end. So you can't have two sukuns. Can you see that there's two sukuns here? You can't have two sukuns in a word, because you can't pronounce it. So you have yakun, lam yakun. And that's how you get lam from kana. It becomes yakun, right? No hesian equal to him. This one lam yakun is the same in lam yakun alladhina kafaru. Here's that example. Hatta ta'tiyahumul bayyinah. Hatta is the particle that came from the subjunctive. Can you see here? And therefore, this ta'tiya, this takes a fatha to show that it is the subjunctive. So this one here is one example of a subjunctive in this particular screen. Okay, then we move on to other examples of the subjunctive in jussive. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا. Now, the moment you have a li, you know that it's a subjunctive. So it's this rule applies here because the li is part of it. So you can see that the li and ya'budu, the waw alif to show plural for the group of males, persons here, etc. Then you have yuqimu, also the similar thing that you have the verb is you get from this. I'm just showing you qawama is the root. Right? You have qama yakumu, which is the normal trilateral form 1 past tense and present tense here. Then you have a comma. There's again that fourth form coming. Can you see that alif in front of this comma here? So that shows you that it's a form 4 verb. And then the yuqimu, you notice that the vowel in yuqimu, right? The ya with the dhamma, not ya with the fatha as we had in all the form 1 verbs. Then yuqimu is the plural form to show, to establish salah. So yuqimu is here. Is the jussive of this particular verb, and it means to maintain or to establish or to institute in your life, right? As-salah and you to zakah, the same thing with ata, ya'ati. Okay, this is the past tense or present tense of form 1. And then if you want to make it, like ata, again, you can't have a alif and two alifs together. See this problem here when you want to make it alif with the past tense. So here they change it to so sorry, what I'm saying is this is also a fourth form verb, so that you have to have an alif in front of this ata. So you have a'ata. and you see you can't have ata, so you have it in as ata is the past tense, right? Ata like that. Okay, then the present tense is yu'ti. Again, the ya with the dhamma coming into show fourth form with the kasta here, yu'ti. And from yu'ti you get the plural form yu'tu, and this is the jussive form of that verb. Okay? So that's how you get yu'tu as showing the jussive forms of yukimu and yu'tu in this particular example. Okay, then examples from the Quran using li again. You have wali yadribna. Okay, this li, the li introducing the subjunctive li, right? And then, but we notice that yadribna for the feminine. You notice this, the two feminines, whether both in jussive and subjunctive look the same. Can you see that? You have the ya in front, and the last word have a sukun, and then the na coming in on both of them. So this one, because it's li here, it's actually the subjunctive li, and this verb is subjunctive, right? So this is an example of that particular one, liyadribna. You can see the similarity of the volume of this particular word. Then on its own, here's one example of a jussive on its own. That and tell the faithful one to cast down, right? It's like almost like it's like a command form, yahfadna, right? There's no like particle, but it's like telling them to do something. Yahfadna is to cast down. Sorry, yahtudna is cast down. So they put it wrong to guard. Sorry, hafidha is to guard. Yes, hafidha. Yahfadhu is the present tense, and yahfadna is the normal from this particular form one verb. You get yahfadna. That's where you get yahfadna as a form one verb in the plural feminine. Right, yubdina. Yubdina, this is another, to look at the dictionary, this is the root you'll find, badawa, the present tense, in the past tense, and yabdu is the present tense of the form one. Okay, form one. Then you have abda, which is now again going to a fourth form with the leaf in front. Yubdi is the present tense, and then from yubdi you get yubduna or yubdina, depending on how you want to use that particular. So here it's yubdina, showing the form four verb in the jussive, because it's la is a jussive particle. Okay, so that's how you get the jussive in the yubdina, and this yubdina is repeated there, so there's the same rule applying. And here wali yadribna, the li is the subjunctive, and you notice the yadribna, the jussive has got the same feature as the subjunctive. So the li gives you the indication that it is a subjunctive verb, not a jussive. Okay, and that ayah continues. The other part of it, lam yadharu. Here we have the lam coming in for yadharu. Ala awratin nisa, or children uninitiated to women's private parts. So this is yadharu coming from zahara yadharu. This is the form one verb. The normal, if you look at the third person feminine, the ya coming in with the una at the end. And here, when you want to make it the jussive, you take the noon out and you have the wawa leaf to show. So ya with the wawa leaf, this dhamma gives you this form here, lam yadharu. Okay, and then yadribna we've covered before. Okay, so I think this is the summary of the jussive. So in a nutshell, you need to look out for these particles if it's in a jussive. Sometimes we said it's also on its own, right? This particular jussive. In the subjunctive, what gives it away is all those particles an, li, like, la, lam, and len, and hatta. Okay, Now, maybe let me just give you one little peep into what the imperative mode is, or the command. This is the last of the modes we're going to be covering. And this one goes even easier, a step easier, because if you look at that full table of 15 blocks, you notice 2 blocks. I mean, there's actually this whole row here, this whole row here, and this whole row here. 3 entire rows don't apply to the imperative, simply because it is the command form, right? So it comes from the jussive because it's got that feature of the sukun there, got that same feature there, it's got that same feature there. And the other difference is that it's got an alif. Normally in the second person you get a ta, but this one is an alif. And I'll show you how you come to the alif with the either a dhamma or a kasra on it just now. So if you notice, all of them take this in the command form, this u or e in the beginning, and the jussive characteristics at the end, and that essentially gives you the command form. So uktub would mean write, where you're addressing one male in singular. Right? If you want to address 2 males in singular, you make it uktuba, commanding them right. And uktubu is a group of males in front of you. You tell them uktubu is to write, all of you. Okay? And likewise, the female is uktubi, uktuba, uktubna. So essentially, you can't give a command to the third person, and therefore you can't give a command to somebody who's not present in front of you to say right, because you can only talk to somebody like face to face in front of you. So therefore, it's only the second person that applies in the command form of this particular verb. Right. Also, you can't, like in normal speech, you don't normally talk to yourself and give a command to yourself and say, "Hey, you must start writing or write." I mean, you do think like that, but you don't say it. So therefore, even the first person doesn't apply in this whole table. Okay, so it's a much shorter table, almost like the jussive in terms of the endings. And then the unique thing about it is it normally has an alif in front, either with the dhamma or the kasra. Okay, so how to derive the imperative? How do you get to the imperative? So here we're looking at just the second person. Can you see here? All of them is a second person. This is the first person, second person. This is the I mean the one where you say singular male, right? Masculine singular one male. So you start with the second person jussive. It looks like that verb there, taktub, with the ta in front and the ba with the sukun on it, jussive. And what you do is you take the star, the front, and you take it off, you replace it by an alif. Right? And then because this one takes a dhamma, you put the alif there with the dhamma. So this is how you derive. You get from the jussive, you replace the ta with an alif, you look at the middle letter voweling, and then you put that middle letter voweling on the top of the alif, and you get uktub. Okay, like in the second person, in the to be the singular, like you're telling one girl to write. This is the normal feminine form of the jussive. Again, you're taking the ta, you're removing it, you're putting an alif in its place, and you get uk to be, to tell one girl you write. And the dual is quite easy. Taktuba, taktubu. When you want to make it dual and plural. So this is the dual, and this is the plural form in the masculine, right? And then you're replacing the star by a leaf again, right? And all of them are doing the same thing, taking the star and you take it to the way, and you're bringing this alif in the front, and you're keeping the remaining part of the verb exactly the same like in the jussive mode. So essentially, this is how you get to converting a verb that's in the jussive into a command form of that particular verb. Okay. So these were the two singulars. These were the dual is masculine, feminine is the same. And in the plural form, again, you keep you have the waw alif for the masculine and then in the feminine plural. Okay, so let me stop at this point. We'll go over this imperative once more in the next lesson just to strengthen the understanding of this particular mode form. It's quite easy to understand because you're looking at just two features. One in the beginning that's a bit different, where you have to have an alif, but at the end it looks really like the jussive form in its entirety, and also it's only the second person that applies. Okay, so let me stop at that point. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.